Lovell Crafts writes, I've just started a Book About Me album. I've been meaning to scrapbook some pages about myself, but I've never done them, so decided to do a whole book about me, including when I was a little girl. I got started, but I haven't really worked on it much since. Glitter Girl, can you help Lovell Crafts set out her story of self?
Of course I can. This is our second week on this topic. The first week, last week's episode, is all about a page that's about you, but telling a childhood story, and this week we're bringing it right up to date with a Right Now page. I tend to do a Right Now page once a year, and I try to time it around my birthday, but I think if you're in the mood to do a page like this, there's absolutely no wrong time to do it during the year, and it certainly doesn't have to be anywhere near your birthday. I've just had an order come through with lots of new things from the Amy Tangerine Cut and Paste collection from American Crafts, so that's pretty much everything that's going into today's layout. I have some stamps, fabric, photo corners, these little small stickers that are transparent. They look a bit like washi tape on the page, and they have two color schemes, lots of he said, she said, nice little captions that can go along with your journaling, and they're really small so they can work well on a 12 by 12 page or in a pocket on a divided page protector. The shaped thickers, which I don't always go for the shaped thickers, but I liked a lot of the wording. I'm going to use this one on this particular layout, and I thought that this was a pack where I would really use pretty much all of those pieces. A set of foam thickers called Collage. I think I'm just going to use these for the year. I really liked the font for the numbers especially. And then these are epoxy border stickers, which are a little different, and there were a few that match the color scheme I'm going to use, so I think they will come in handy. And then the papers, so not a lot of paper that I've picked out, but a few sheets. This 6x4 cut apart sheet, and this one has Loving Right Now, so that's perfect for this particular layout, but also lots of things that are great for all sorts of different pages. I love that Amy's collections tend to be really easy to adapt to lots of different themes. It has a grid on the reverse if there's any squares that you don't use. And then I'm going to use this multicolored, multi-pattern background for the majority of the page, which has a gray dot pattern on the other side, and I'm going to use a little bit of this blue for a photo mat, and that has a floral on the other side. Just a sheet of craft cardstock to add a frame to my background, and then a couple little things that are not from Amy Tangerine, some gold mist from Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and then I've used the Banana Fish October printables, just two pieces from that sheet. And the October printables are all in black and white. It's kind of a black and white color scheme, but there are a lot of them that have a scrapping about yourself, all about me kind of angle to them. And I've used just two pieces from that and recolored the black to brown, and you can recolor it to any color you want using photo editing software. So I did this in Photoshop, just took me a moment, and printed it on craft cardstock. This October one is actually designed as a 3x4 card with October running up the side, but I just really liked the fact that the font matched here, so just printed it out as printed it and then cut it out as a border piece that I'll trim down to the right size when I figure out where it's going to go on the layout. And the circle that says it's all about me, punched out with the largest, well, it's the largest one I own. I think it's the largest Fiskars punch, but I bet they do a giant one somewhere else. I think this is considered the 2-inch punch. It's about 2 inches if I measure that on my trimmer. So, yep, I just punched that out with a 2-inch circle. And then I have a strip of photos that are current, and that's going to be part of this page. So it does mean scrapbooking yourself. But if you've got a phone that lets you do a forward-facing camera, you can have a little bit more control, and you don't have to drag a friend or spouse along to try and take your picture and then get really nervous. And if you want a little bit of help with that, angles are really useful. So if you're having any trouble, if you go to YouTube and look up ways to take a great selfie on your phone, something like that, there are lots of videos that will come up and you'll find something that's useful for you. But a good tip is to go near a light source like a window and to make sure that your posture is good so you're not slumping over, and get the camera at least as high as your eye, maybe a little bit higher, and then you should find that that's a good flattering angle to start with, and then you can customize from there. Okay, so today it's all going to be a scrapbooking about yourself right now kind of page, and with all these goodness from Amy Tangerine's Cut and Paste collection. I'm starting by trimming this multicolored pattern paper to just a little bit shy of 12 by 12, so it will fit on the 12 by 12 cardstock in the background to just have that little craft border around the edge. That will make the printables on craft work best with the pattern papers, I hope. And then I've matted, well, I haven't yet, but I'm going to mat the photo on blue, and I figured that would be good to bring in a little of the blue from the pattern paper and make that match with the photo since I'm wearing blue in the picture. Now, a pattern like this works really well with a strip of photos. It's offset so that you have a third of the page devoted to one angle and 2/3 to the other, so it gives you a nice division of the page anyway, and if you work with this dividing line, you really can't go wrong in the design. But you can also use this to your advantage by looking where the arrow points. So I have this large piece here, and then everything points this way. And if you set it up with that point going toward what you want it to look at, and if there are pictures of people, you tend to want people to look at the eyes in the photo. So I can make this arrow point toward the row of eyes in the picture, and that should help the design work well with the strip of photos, which is a little bit different than what I tend to use. That looks about like the point of the arrow going that way, so I'll leave it just there. And then I want to build up on the page. Obviously there's not a lot of room for me to build below the photos, and I want to make sure that I include plenty of space to write on this page since this layout is about documenting things right now. So I'll take the right now 4x6 card, tuck it just behind there so that it has the layered effect rather than next to each other. And I think putting the October in here in between should be a good balance as well. What I was thinking is that the circle craft piece could come up here in a separate little embellishment. I have those border strips to use, so I know that I could have a border down here that I could also repeat up here and include this as kind of a little bookmark look at the top of the page. Now with my October, I wanted to include the year because I do a Right Now page every year, so it's important to date them, otherwise they all start to look, well, it just gets confusing to tell the story because you wouldn't know which order they go in if they got taken out of the album. So before I forget about that, I'm going to add the year, and I can add that down the side here. Looking for a few more small ways to incorporate the craft cardstock into the embellishment on the layout, I can use the stamps and a brown ink pad with the same craft cardstock. And I'm just using this little tab that says Today, which can go up at the top of the journaling box. Shape is really easy to cut out with scissors, and then that coordinates well with the printables also on craft. Of course, if you're doing both on white, both on cream, both on whatever paper, but you can stamp and print on the same paper and then they will coordinate well. So before I go any further, I wanted to make sure I included that Right Now block, which is going to be my title. And I thought I could just get an idea of where it's going to go, and it might benefit from a layer of paper behind it as well. I have a scrap of the blue that has this on the other side. So just cut this so to give it a little bit more weight on the page since I'm not going to add a larger title. And brown inked the edges of this like everything else so it all works together. And then since I have two little pieces of text here, it would be nice to have a third piece, maybe something that could go here. I know I have text here, but these are two pieces that are dimensional and kind of creating a corner, so it would be nice to have a third piece there. It doesn't necessarily need to be text. And so one option I could do would be one of the arrows here. And I think actually this one could work really well because then I'm framing the green with the brown. And I think before I add any more embellishment, I'll go ahead and do the writing. The writing for a page like this, I always do it in bullet points, and it's just a list of things that are current right now. I try not to overthink it and just tend to write down the things that come to mind. Some things will be about things I'm doing, work, not work, things restaurants have been eating in, or clothes shops I've been shopping in, things like that, where whatever seems to be of the moment to you, kind of a personal version of a trending topic, what's been on your mind and on your schedule lately. Writing all in this box, so I'm ready to add a little bit more to the page below the photos and up here in the top corner. And I think this needs a little bit of dressing up too, but with something really small. I'll start down here, and when I took this chipboard piece from the thicker sheet, I really liked this pencil as well and thought that would be nice to frame the photos with a bit of yellow up here and a bit of yellow below the photos. So I'm going to line up the end of the pencil with the end of the yellow box there. And then that kind of creates a point like an arrow towards something, so it would be nice to have something that would fit there. And I wondered if maybe one of these word stickers would work. I kind of like using this phrase in blue, but it's going to be too wide, so I think if I cut it into two pieces, since it's two words, that should fit. Yes. And that makes it nice and easy to read. So that's how the transparent stickers work. You can see where you can see the paper layer behind there. And maybe something small that could go just here in this little spot, like one of these stars maybe. Right, so that gives me some embellishment down there at the bottom of the page. It'd be nice to bring up some embellishment up here. And I have somewhere my little circle that I'm going to add here. Here it is. So when I thought about using this at the top of the page, I wanted to use it with these border stickers, and then repeat those border stickers at the bottom. So maybe the best way would be to find something that's going to coordinate with this bit of green, because I haven't used the green anywhere else on the page, and there is a green sticker. If I did just a portion of the strip, and you can cut these with normal scissors, then it's fine. And add that below there. They are quite glossy and finished. It's quite a different texture. And then if I have one that runs to the edge here, now I have three spots where that green appears. So right up here in the title and then down at the bottom of the page. That should be enough to make that green feel like it belongs. Have a little bit of that green for some other page. And I think best thing to do to layer this over the top of that, because it's not completely flat. It's not hugely tall, but it does come up off the page a little bit, is to attach this with some pop dots. Run that off the top edge of the page, and then I can just trim off the extra from the other side. And come back to this piece with a bit more of the ink now that it has that edge that I've just cut. And I think at this point I'm ready to look for small embellishments, really, really small things, little dots or something that I could dot about here, here, and here. And I wanted to include my gold mist with that. So maybe start with just some small dots of mist, and then that will give me an idea of some little finishing touches on top. Now this kind of line from the top corner to the bottom corner is something I do all the time, and something I discussed a lot in the first episode of the 4x6 Photo Love series, where we talked about a loose line of embellishments. But it is something that works with all sorts of different page designs, not just the one that I used in that particular video. So if that's useful. Now I didn't want that to be the embellishment, I just wanted that little bit of metallic in the background. And I'll have a look at the supplies I've pulled out and see if I need something else or if there's something that will be just right to fit in as a finishing touch. 3 things to finish. I decided I'd include a couple more of those chipboard stars from the same sheet. Since there were 3 there, I might as well use them as 3 places on the page. And then I decided I'd like to bring in a little bit more of the blue, where I purposely then made sure I repeated the green. Now this whole area of the page up here is devoid of the blue, so it'd be nice if I could bring that in. So I found 2 ways I could add a little bit more blue to the page. One is with some blue gems, and then also with these fabric photo corners from the original collection that I hadn't used yet here. So I'm just going to add these to 2 corners of the photo strip. I think all 4 corners might be a bit heavy, but 2 should work. And then I can scatter some blue sparkly gems around the page in that loose line of embellishment. And finish that down here at the bottom of the page. Maybe bring this one into a slightly different position. If I can figure out where, that would be good. I don't think it will work particularly well on top of either the epoxy or the chipboard pencil. So maybe I bring it over right to the corner. And so there we go. Really simple, quick way to do a page that's going to go into my album and give a little bit of background about me at this point in time. And then as you flip through my albums, I have one of these for every year, more or less anyway. I think I certainly have at least half a dozen of them by now, and it's really nice to see how they change over time. Some things will change and some things will stay the same. You can see my page from last year in an earlier episode of Glitter Girl, so I can link that up for you as well. That includes 2 layouts, and one of them is the Right Now that I did in 2012. Your challenge for this week is to create a Right Now page that's about you. You can use this page design to start off your layout, or you can go with anything else that inspires you. It does not need to be scrap lifted. Just do that if it helps you. I hope to see your page in the gallery, no matter what it is that you're loving. And by the way, I do suggest going with a paper collection that you really like, because then that way that bit of your personality is coming through in the layout too. I can't wait to see what you make. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Join us next week for the continuing adventures of Glitter Girl and the ongoing mystery of the scrapbooker behind the mask at 2peasinabucket.com.